I rarely talk about politics only because I don't want this channel for people to think that I would make that a focus. But I think in consideration of people who have been recently watching my channel for any K-pop news or anything Korean related really, I thought it would be appropriate to bring this up. From 2022 to 2025, South Korea was cursed with this man, this demon as their president. Basically what he did. And I couldn't tell you like his whole political career, but the one thing that he did, and for those who have Netflix and watch K-dramas or any Korean movies, if you know Steel Rain, this is something that he did very similar in what happens in Steel Rain. Is what he did was impose martial law to stop all like activities political related, because you know that's how martial law works in Korea. Not exactly sure if that's the same in America, but he had a martial law that lasted about 6 hours from the sources that I've read. And what he did, the reason why he did want to do that martial law is he wanted to gain full control, authoritarian rule over South Korea. But of course, the people didn't like that, obviously. Nobody wants an authoritarian dictator. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Authoritarian. You get the point. A tyrant is what this guy was going to be. That whole martial law thing, what he also did was start a coup to really bring power, absolute power to him, to really overthrow his own government and, you know, interfering with parliament and the legislative activities that were going. And that angered so many people. It even angered his followers. Everyone who was against him and for him all protested in unison. And even though the martial law only lasted for 6 hours, apparently it lasted for weeks for him to be officially removed in office. But I'm really not the guy to really give you all the nitty-gritty details. I'm pretty sure I should just kind of let this guy explain it for you, so we can just take a look at this clip right here.
South Korea's impeached President Yoon Yeol is in court today to find out if he's guilty of leading an insurrection. If convicted, he could face the death penalty.
The spoiler alert is that he is found guilty. He's jailed for life for this insurrection. I think this video was just made right before then, just to, you know, but anyways.
How did we get here? It all started suddenly on a Tuesday night in December 2024. Yoon declared a military takeover of the country and outlawed all political activity.
비상계엄을 선포합니다.
He sent troops here to the parliament to arrest politicians. Political aides and regular citizens blockaded the halls while inside, lawmakers voted down Yoon's martial law order. Then just as quickly as it began, his gamble was over. The following weeks and months were marked by mass protests demanding Yoon's impeachment and arrest. In January 2025, Yoon became the country's first sitting president to be arrested. Then in April, he became the country's second president to be impeached.
So the first president who was impeached was actually Park Geun-hye. She was, I believe, president in like around 2014 something to 2017. She got impeached for being involved in a corruption scandal. I guess an American way to say she was basically Richard Nixon with Watergate is basically how I can kind of explain.
In earlier trials, Yoon claimed that his martial law order was only a symbolic gesture to bring attention to the wrongdoings of the opposition party. The judges were not convinced.
He's basically saying that he had this martial law declared so that he could get everyone, I'm just kind of basically regurgitating this, but he's basically saying, no, I didn't try to I didn't try to be a tyrant. I didn't want absolute control. I wanted people to know that, you know, your guys are being compromised. You know, these lawmakers here are not doing you justice. But really, he just didn't like the laws that were being put in place because that would jeopardize his plan to be the dictator of South Korea.
A guilty verdict today would mean at minimum a decades-long prison sentence for Yoon. He could be sentenced to death, but that's really a life sentence because South Korea no longer carries out executions. And after that, Yoon's only hope for being freed is a presidential pardon.
Basically what Gerald Ford did to Richard Nixon, that's how he could get away with this. But I'm assuming, I don't know much about Korean politics, but given the crap that this guy has done, I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. But yeah, I can't tell you the nitty-gritty details. This guy didn't really say much either. I basically just said what he said, but I wanted to kind of show you like an actual visual of how serious this was. Everyone was out in the streets just protesting. You don't see this much of a large protest unless if it was like a protest with a raid involved. Like I'm talking like the BLM protests, which raids were involved, or the recently like the ICE protests, but they're not as big as I see. Like there's multiple like protests, but they're not as like chunky as what you see in this video here. Everyone wanted this guy to go. They said no, get him out. All of his supporters turned against him, and that's kind of what's happening right now with America. Some of the MAGA supporters are starting to turn away from Trump, but that's besides the point. I thought I might as well just share this with you guys. It's really not like something that I'm, too particularly like it's not this isn't something that I am very too particularly like interested in or catch myself or like kind of update myself with, because this is all in South Korea. What happens there, honestly doesn't affect us. But anyways, there's also another source by the guy who was just commentating on this, is that he is accused of sending a military drone in North Korea to provoke a confrontation which would have served as a pretext to the declaration of martial law. This guy almost started the Korean War Part 2. Well, not exactly, because the Korean War is still going on. It's just a ceasefire. A long ceasefire. That's why the DMZ is still there. That's also why Korea is still technically like one country. North and South is just split in like political like divide. It's not actually like two countries in like one. But anyways, it's crazy. I've been knowing a little bit of what he had done, but I've read more about this to see just how serious this was. But yeah, I just thought I might as well share that with you. That's all I gotta say. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.